Hey guys, Nick here.
What's going on, y'all? Zach here,
We're just two guys trying to make the world a better place.
and welcome to the Doors.
Let her rip.
That's right. All right, y'all. Listen, this is another Behind the Doors episode. I'm Nicholas Sternloff, your host, and I'm here today with my friend Greg Priest. How you doing today, man?
If I was any better, Nick, I'd be you, big guy.
Listen, this is honestly exactly the reason why we're doing this at the moment. So, Greg Peace is a regular customer at the restaurant that I serve at home up in Jasper, Georgia, and he's a fantastic man. I love stopping by because the energy that he ends up just reciprocating is exactly the way that I do, and it's such an amazing feeling. Like just walking in, you're like, yeah, what's up? I love it. I love it so much. So first off, tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what you do, man.
Okay. All right. So, Greg Peace, married to Suzanne, who you get a chance to see.
Fantastic wife, amazing, love her to death. She's
30
great.
years. 30 years. Married to Suzanne. I have a daughter named Nicole. She's about 34 years old. She lives up in Raleigh. So without boring the entire world with all this, it boils down to born in Texas in 1963. Came back to Georgia with my family when I was a kid, a baby. My dad was in the military.
Yeah.
Lived in Hartwell, Georgia till I was 14.
Okay.
Moved to Raleigh, North Carolina at that point. Lived there 35 years and had my daughter with my first wife. Met Suzanne. She worked at Duke University. Big Duke fan.
Hey, you're a big Duke fan.
Spent a lot of time at Cameron Indoor Stadium. In fact, her office was right in front of it.
Okay.
Knew Coach K and a lot of the guys personally. We moved away though from North Carolina for work. I'm a regional director with Modern Woodman of America. We're a fraternal, not-for-profit financial services organization based out of Rock Island, Illinois.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's so first off, awesome that I love the journey that you've been on already. Like you just talked about is awesome already just to get there. I mean, coming to Georgia, I lived in Georgia most of my life, so it's it's interesting to like move here from all that. But and being a Duke fan, I have so many. I mean, I was in college cheerleading, so like I have friends around the U.S. that have been to most all of the colleges, and I have my old coach Shandy would always talk about Duke. He's like Duke, because he was a UK cheerleader. It's really great. So what do you do as the regional director at Modern Woodman?
So I have a staff that reports to me I run the regional office. So I have a back office operation here in Dawsonville, Georgia. My recruiting coordinator, Candy Clark, she's up front. My personal administrative assistant is Tanya Keys. It lives in Dahlonega, close to UNG. And what I do is my primary position is to recruit quality talent to bring them into the financial services industry, to give them an opportunity to touch lives and secure futures for clients. So I've got 15 full-time agents that report to me. I have about 10 offices that I manage from Atlanta to Chattanooga. That's my territory.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I've been looking at some of the things they're talking about, how you're mostly in North Georgia, South Tennessee, Southeast Tennessee area. That's pretty cool. So it's a nonprofit financial organization that helps people get on their feet, figure things out with what they need to do with their money, I'm guessing?
Yeah, when you think about nonprofit and financials, it's rare that you would put those two words together.
Yeah.
But in 1883, Joseph Cullen Root was the founder of our company. He founded like 6 of these organizations in 1883, and chose to name it Modern Woodman of America. There's actually a reason behind that we'll get into if you want. But the company was founded then, very humble beginnings. Today we have $17 billion in assets, and the profits that we earn annually as a company, after we pay all of our fees and expenses, those profits go back to the communities we do business in. matching
That
funds,
is
schools, churches, preschools, things like that.
so. I looked up some information real quick just because of it. I think it's so interesting that like number one, 1883 is a long time ago.
Yeah.
It's a long time ago, and that's wild, man. I'm not super in the business world yet. I'm gonna get there. We'll gotta take our time and our steps to get to where we want to go. But to be a nonprofit organization that helps with financials, that's very contradictory. But I'm guessing like, so what are some of the things you guys regularly do with customers?
Okay, so number one, once we bring someone in to determine if they're a fit to do what we do, we train them on our systems. We're a systems-driven organization. We sit down, we do a program called Planning for Life, and that Planning for Life program is designed to help that client understand their needs that they might not understand normally. When it comes to life insurance, financial planning, annuities, 401k, Roths. I mean, we also have our own broker dealer, so we do a lot of stocks. So we're able to sit down with that person and help them uncover that need. And once we do that, then we have solutions in our portfolio, whether it be life insurance or disability, health insurance, whatever it is they might need, to help them grasp what they want to do with their future. So my team is really good at helping these folks figure that out.
That is really, really cool. I mean, as a 24-year-old who I started my 401k at 22, I guess you could say. Thank you. I know a lot of people don't think about these things. One of the things that I have a quote up on my board over here. I'm a Renaissance thinker. I like going back, listening to crazy things, people from the past talk about things. Earl Nightingale was a Renaissance speaker back in the 1950s. He was also in the Navy. He has a quote because he says, our rewards in life will always be in exact proportion to our contributions. And like what a lot of people don't realize is they don't think about these things early on. 401k or Roths, going into investments accounts, or anything like near my age, when you can start investing with very little money and build it up over time. And it's just so interesting, like that, how beneficial these things can be if you allow the time to do it and or recognize what you can do with them. I mean, I've had my 401k for less than 3 years, and I didn't even put any money in it last year, and it almost doubled. I was like, wow.
Markets are good right now, so don't get used to that.
No, I'm in a very volatile. I'm running with T. Rowe Price right now. My old Panda Express. That's what they use, but it was great. I mean, I'm a very volatile account. We have mostly it's 12% around returns, but I mean it goes up. It fluctuates up and down all the time. But
you can afford to take the risk at your age.
Yes, definitely don't have enough money in it right now for it to be like anything where I need a gradual increase at all. But and it's quite interesting. I mean, I was introduced to this by my old boss, but a lot of these things we're not taught in school unless it's a direct talk from most an economics teacher, or hey, we should try to do this, or you don't get it until you're almost in the business world and someone's like, hey, here's this slip, here's what you need. And that's definitely what's interesting.
On that point, I'll bring this up. When I was in school, I graduated high school in 1981. Okay, so I'm a little older than probably most of the folks that will be watching this. But they didn't teach any money really there either. The money you taught is from your mom and dad. Our organization just developed a program called Money Masters. It's designed for really right out of kindergarten, first grade through fifth. And then there's a second one that picks up in middle school. But it's a program we've developed to help teachers teach kids about money. And it's a program that we provide. We're partners in education in a number of school districts throughout Georgia. So we go into those districts, sit down with those teachers, show them this program, and provide them the curriculum at no cost.
That is awesome. So did y'all start that this year? Is that what you said?
We started that at the middle of 20, which was probably the worst time to do it during COVID-19. But it's been highly successful.
That is super cool. One of the things, I mean, I think there's always opportunity out there, especially like when people, no, don't get me wrong, I get that people are struggling and things are going on and things like that, but I think there's so much more opportunity to get things started in those moments sometimes too. Or even like people be like, wow, this is the worst time to start it. But at the end of the day, there's no good time to start anything.
No.
Not one single thing. The only thing you can do is,
If you can do, well, think about things people started. Just look back over the last 13, 14 months, okay, since COVID really became what it is. People, if you started something during that time frame and you succeeded, you are magic. Because I mean, I'm gonna tell you, man, you know, we can all pick up the negatives in this. There was a lot of wins in this last year too, really is. And the ones that did win are going to be so resilient for the future problems. It's just amazing. So that's what we talk about with our team. The ones that had the year, it was a rough year. I mean, a lot of sales became involved with Zoom, which is what you and I are on right now.
yeah.
We never had that before. But these folks that came in during that time and had succeeded, and many have, and had six-figure incomes to go with it, they're going to kill it when this is all said and done.
Well, I mean, it's a different mindset because you're in a point where it's grind time, or you see everyone else around you, or at least the media and everything being like, everything's failing. And for you to be like, wow, okay, I can see that. Now, how do I not fail, or how do I continue to push forward? Because there is an abundance out there of need. And it's in those moments where, again, like you just said, if you can switch that narrative and people figure these things out, they're going to be able to accomplish it almost in any scenario because they've already done it in one of the hardest ones.
That's right.
It's only going to get easier.
That's exactly right.
And it's wild, man. Like, I mean, you can see it at restaurants, even like home, like in the pandemic, they're doing their best. And like I think we do a really good job of like actually providing in a way, for what COVID's going on. But like, a lot of businesses aren't like this. There's businesses around the U.S. are just shutting down right now, closing down, all this crazy stuff. But
yeah, I agree.
And I mean, we got the stock markets going wild. It's interesting, man. So what drove you to become a member of the Dawson County Chamber?
Well, you know, it's exposure more than anything else. We joined the chamber. I'm actually a member of like 4 chambers, you know, throughout North Georgia. But, you know, they're a not-for-profit as well. So they depend on businesses to come in and do things. So what happens is we get exposure. Our information's down there when new businesses open. We're able to tap in and talk to them about their benefits and whatnot. But no, beyond that, it's just, I think it's the civil thing to do. You should support your local business market, so to speak. So we jump in there and we do golf tournaments and we sponsor different things with them. So it's a place to put some money that I think that will help grow our area.
Okay.
Dawsonville, generally speaking, is growing. We currently live in Big Canoe, and so you know that. But you know, my office is right out here in Dawson. So
yeah. Well, I mean, it's first off, anything outside of Metro Atlanta or any of these big cities right now are all booming. I mean, wildly booming. Everyone's trying to move to these bigger cities or these things that aren't California, New York, or wherever. I mean, if you look, I lived in Clarksville, Tennessee, which is about 45 minutes north of Nashville. And man, the amount of growth I saw in 4 to 5 years was ridiculous. It was crazy. It was just literally like spreading constantly.
Oh, yeah.
On another note, though, I think it's so interesting I'm starting to develop it as well, but as I become more myself, more human, more Nick in the future, one of the most important things to do is give back to your community. Right. And like, man, you give back to your community. I mean, you're in 4 to 5 different boards. You're literally the regional director of a nonprofit organization that works with financials. That's huge. So I'm guessing you have a community as like a big part of who you are and what you want to be.
Right. Yes. So in that realm you just discussed, as an organization across the U.S., we put about 25 million back to the communities we do business in. This region, last year across this desk, I signed off on about 1.2 million that went out to schools, churches, preschools, matching funds projects in North Georgia and Southern Tennessee. So, those profits that we make, if we were for profit, obviously we would be putting that money in the shareholders' hands, right?
Yeah.
Our shareholders are our members. We have 750,000 members across the U.S. So all these things that we do go back not only to the communities, but to also improve the lives and enrich the lives of our members. Okay. So it sounds like what I'm going to say, though, is it sounds like in this conversation that I am, that I eat, sleep, and breathe what I do for a living. Mm-hmm. But I will be clear, in life, what I do supports my real life, which is with Suzanne. My real life is when I see you on a Tuesday night and we have a chance to talk. That's my life. I don't want to mix this up when I think there's a lot of people that really take this job thing so literal that that is their life, and then their home supports that. For me, it's the opposite. My life is there. This supports it.
I love that.
I'm clear on that. So, but
that's such a hard distinction to make, especially again, like we're not told these things as we're growing up. Like we're told we have to work and continue to be able to provide for these things. So I mean, that's a fantastic distinction to have at all. So
it's important. Otherwise, you get lost in the shuffle, and you just
you'll stress
out, you'll stroke out, you'll lose your wife, you'll lose your home, you'll lose your kids.
You get burnt out. It's burnt out. So, I mean, I know Suzanne. I love her. She's great. You guys are fantastic together. I love seeing y'all. It's amazing. What other things do y'all like? What are your passions? What are some of the things that you're really interested in at home that I'm guessing you could say that this job provides for?
Good question. Okay. As a couple, we love to cook. We love to eat. We're winos. We started drinking wine. I can tell you the year 1998 was the year.
That was when my brother was born.
Yeah. Well, we're winos. We've been in Napa Valley. We love wine. Love all things about it. That's a passion we share, is good food and great wine. When it comes to the home life, we've owned 10 properties together. At one point before it was cool to flip houses, we were flipping houses and making money, and nice. We continue to do that. But other than that, we don't watch a lot of TV. We read. We spend quality time with each other. We entertain. Have a lot of friends. We do that kind of stuff. I love to garden. My passion on a personal level, for many years was cars. I have had 59 cars.
59.
59. And
okay.
I'm 57, so I had one for every year on Earth and 2 while I was in the womb. So it's a lot of cars.
Yeah.
That's just, everybody's got a passion. That's probably my biggest.
All right. So first, I got 2 questions out of those cars, at least. There's more questions involved, but first one, what's your favorite car you've ever owned and why?
What's the favorite car out of that group and why?
Yeah.
Well, it's a lot of good ones, and I can tell you some of the ones, but looking back on it, I had a 1988 Honda Accord LXI. Okay. 88, black, had a little pop-up headlights. And for some reason that reminds me at a time, there's a good time. I was very active in this industry at that point. I bought that car probably in 94. Okay. So it was 88 model, wasn't that old? Loved it. Had a lot of Hondas during that timeline. So that was one of my favorite cars, only because it was just a time in my life where I was really accelerating with my career. So I remember the time, and the car did me well. But if you could take away the utility of that vehicle and the fact that it was probably my favorite car of all, really, if you could just weigh everything out, it was a 1983 911 Porsche 911 turbo look wide body.
Ooh.
That was my favorite car.
Yeah.
That was air cooled. Bought it at a place in Raleigh on Hillsborough Street. He was a dealer, a Porsche dealer, and it was the bomb. That sounds
awesome. I mean, I feel you. I had a 2004 or 2002 Celica, and it's like this little go-kart, man, and it was a piece of crap, complete crap.
Loved it.
But I loved it. It was my go-kart. It was my car. I understand. So it's moments like that.
Honda was that way for me, but but I'll tell you, Nick, for 59 cars,
Yeah.
you can throw a lot of them out there. I don't know. You asked me, I probably had one, but
Yeah.
from everything from Fiats, I had Fiat X19s, I had a number of Porsches, I had Land Rovers, I've had BMWs. I mean, I've just had Volvos. At one point, I had 2 yellow wagons at one time. It's crazy, but no, it's been fun.
Yeah.
Fun.
No, I mean, I completely understand. My old coach is obsessed with cars. I think he has a, dude, I don't even know what they're called. I think they're Gran Turismos. No.
Gran Torino.
Yeah, he has like 6 of them, and it's good as gold.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a Ford. Come on, the old Ford Gran Torino.
Oh no, they're black. They're mostly black. They have a giant hood on the front. Grand something, Buicks. Buick Grand Nationals. That's what it is.
Grand National. Oh wow, very fast car.
Yeah. He has like old school. He's like six old school Grand Nationals, man.
Those were the fastest production cars in the world when they were built.
Yeah, they're dirty, man. He used to. We'd sit there out there practice, and he would go.
They're extremely fast cars.
Take off, man, and they're beautiful. I mean, he's drag raced them before too. There's a little track up in Clarksville that's really cool. Okay, so
on the car thing, I will tell you though, the fastest car I ever owned. I'll tell you that real fast because I mean I love cars. So you get off on this subject, it'll be hard to get me off of.
Hey, it's okay. It's okay.
The fastest car I've ever owned. Actually, had 2. They would probably would compete, but I had a 2013 Mercedes-Benz E63 twin turbo. That particular vehicle is an E-Class, but it's an E63, which is the AMG version. That car is all-wheel drive, 0 to 60, somewhere in the ballpark of about 3.2 seconds. That was about a 600 horsepower vehicle to the wheels.
Yeah, that thing looks like a beast, man. I've seen them before.
Yeah, well, they're sleepers. You really don't even know what you're up against. That car, it'll jerk your neck. So
yeah, that is a beautiful car, man.
One of my favorites too. So
it's a nice car. I used to play all the car games with my cousins and things. So I got if I could get one, it would probably be a Porsche Carrera GT. Mm-hmm. Or maybe into an Aston Martin, or even like one of the McLarens. Some of the really nice McLarens. They're such beautiful cars, man. It's just wild to see what human ingenuity can do to put in that. And like, I'm so for electric cars in the future and how they work and how like it's environment. Like I'm like, yeah. But I saw someone recently because I drive stick shift. I love being able to handle the car like it's mine, like being able to push gears and everything like that. And I remember someone was like, dude, I just missed the switching of gears. I think it'd be really interesting to see someone in the future develop like an electric car that actually shifts gears still. Because like, we're going in, I don't know if we're going to go to autonomous or not. So it's like, but it's interesting. I think it'd be really interesting to see someone try to develop a car that resembles a motor car but still has the gear shifts. I think that'd be really interesting.
That's probably coming because if you're thinking it, Nick, somebody else has too. So
listen, I had this idea, so you actually might be interested in this. I don't know if you've heard of the app called Clubhouse yet. I think it's the next so it's one of the next big social media things that I think that's going to be going out. And if you're interested in, I have invites, I can get you in. But like basically it's like, you're right. Like me and my dad, we sat down. My dad's a really smart guy, and we sat down and he had this idea. It's like, look, blah, blah, here's all these things. And then we started talking and we developed like this whole plan for everything. And then 3-4 weeks later, Clubhouse comes out. And I'm like, you're not wrong. If you're thinking about it, someone's probably doing it. So you're either got to be on it or already in it.
Yeah. I know.
Like Clubhouse is, for those people who don't know what Clubhouse is, it's a audio only group room chat where people can come on the stage and talk about whatever it may be. And it comes like with speakers from anywhere from very popular people that understand what they're doing to like anywhere. I have a room that talks about bug sales and pest control because that's what I'm going to be in this summer. and all like my higher ups are in it, so I get to listen to them talk all the time. I'm like, haha, I gotta interact with you, and you don't even think that I'm not interacting with you. So it's kind of funny, but I just think it's going to be a really interesting place of learning. Like I sat down the other day, dude, and I literally listened for like 10, 20 seconds. I'm so glad I have my journal so I can write things down. But one of the guys, his name is Dean Jackson. He was talking about brands and how they develop like almost like a personality or how they do it. And he's like, yeah, of course, because a brand is buying reflex affecting now decisions. And I was like, and he just threw that on us. But like anyone can do that at any moment. And it's really a great place where people just put out information and like you can just soak it all up. People in high up in any industry, you can jump into anything, learn anything from them. And I think that's like a really, really beautiful social media app. It's gonna be really interesting to watch it develop.
Agreed.
Yeah,
that's interesting. No, Clubhouse. I just recently heard about this. In fact, I think I probably saw it on one of the news sites recently.
Yeah.
So just this week, actually. So.
It's I've messed with it probably for like a good amount of couple hours, but literally like Randy Zuckerberg is in this one. A whole bunch of just random things. It's just really cool to see how people's minds are gathering and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Okay, I got a question from Cammie. Cammie was like, "You need to ask Greg this. You need to ask Greg this."
She is
she wants.
Listen,
don't tell her I told you, but she's like, I'd marry that man.
What?
She said I'd marry that man if he's single.
Oh my God.
Okay.
I think she's awesome, man.
Cammie's awesome. Cammie's one of the servers that I work with at home. She's super cool. We're really good friends. She wants to know what makes you so positive all the time. What keeps you in your positive mindset?
Oh my gosh, great question. What keeps me so? Okay, so I don't want to throw regional director philosophical bullshit at you, but here's the deal. We wake up every day. We all wake up usually, and we choose how we're going to make our day. We can choose to make it a great day, or we can choose to make it a shit day. You get your choices. Even when you feel like crap, it's real important that you press for greatness. You press to feel good, and the way that you project yourself to the general population, while it can be difficult if you feel bad, if you project yourself in a positive way, even if you're not positive, you will become positive. And so I look at it this way, man. When I go, and I'll just talk about the restaurant for a minute because that's how we met. We go there for more than food. We go there for enrichment and for discussion and for excitement to be around, good people, like you and that staff. We know them all. We know the owners. We're just very blessed to have that there. So usually when we're there, you're seeing me at my very favorite place, and I feel good. Yeah. But no, that question comes up a lot. I'd have to say that a lot of people feel like I'm a positive person, and I think it boils down to what I choose to be. And you can let life get in the way. Life can get in the way if you choose to let it. But there's a couple of things I'm gonna throw this at you.
Do it, man. Throw it at me.
I'm gonna pull this up real quick.
Yeah, I will say, man, I'm on your same wavelength. I completely understand. And I really she asked that question. And I was like, I really want to see how he responds to this because I think very much like that as well.
Well, we do choose. But in my notes, I'm an old fashioned kind of guy. I like to write stuff, but there's a few quotes that I keep in my phone so that when I'm doing a meeting, if I'm gonna throw something out, one of them came from Pat Summitt. Pat Summitt's a former ladies basketball coach at Tennessee. One of, if not the most winningest coach in that sport, and actually in all sports. But Pat Summitt it's so simple. This is what she said. It is what it is. You've heard people say that, right? Mm-hmm. It is what it is. But this is what Pat added to that. She wrote, "It is what it is, but it will be what you make it."
It is what it is, but it'll be what you make it.
Yeah, think about that for a second. So that's important. I keep that pretty close by. Another thing that I think about when it comes to positivity is this, and this to me probably is more important, if not equally important, is what is said. And I can't even say who said this because I picked this up I was at a platform meeting in Boston with this group. Actually, this was a number of years ago. The first George Bush, the dad, the first.
Yeah.
He spoke at this particular event, but one of the lead-in platform folks said this: people do not decide their futures. People decide their habits. Their habits is what decides the future. You got to think about that again. It's pretty powerful words. People do not decide their futures. People decide their habits. The habits is what decides the future. That kind of stuff, man, that's the kind of stuff that I wake up to. I know, man, but it's powerful crap. It's just, and then I'm gonna jump to a whole completely different realm. And I told this to my team last week.
Yeah.
One of the ladies that I saw this lady in concert, not a big fan of her music, my daughter was, but her name is Celine Dion. So Celine Dion actually is a very, very good person, but she performed in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. And so after I saw her, that's when the Titanic came out, the movie. And I saw this girl and was pretty impressed with her energy. She was just a high energy person.
Mm-hmm.
This is what she said. So I put this in my phone too. And that's the third quote of the only three I keep in this note list on my phone. And this is pretty powerful. She said, you can't be good all the time, but you must be good when it's time. Just think about that for a second too.
I'm gonna need you to send me these quotes.
I will. I'll text them to you.
Great.
Those are three that I only keep three in my phone, and they all kind of to me feel they're not the same, but they all convey a message that I think.
Mm-hmm. They convey a message that that honestly the power is in your hands, and you have to realize that. And like
you do. But I will say, tell Cammie this. Tell her I'm not always positive, but she'll never know.
Yeah. And I think that's powerful. I think that like I'm so happy-go-lucky because at the end of the day, like I know that this moment is very rare. Like the things that I get to do, the things that will happen. Like I'm leaving home by April, so like I'm sitting there and I'm like, wow, this moment is rare. Like I'm only getting this for this amount of time in my life. Like I'm gonna live it. Like the other day, one of my coworkers he's like I don't know anyone that's happy that works. I was like, dude, I'm so happy. I was like, this is great. I was like, I get to talk to these amazing people. I get to walk around and hang out with them. I'm enjoying the moments I have because it's what I enjoy. I got a funny story for you as well. Again, living in the moment. Last night, pretty attractive girl comes into home, man. Mm-hmm. Like we only had 30 customers. It wasn't a very slow day. Really attractive girl, probably 20, 25, 26.
Okay.
Walks into the bar and has bright pink hair, man, and it's only sitting her right in front of Matt. And like I talked to her a few times through the night. She was reading a book, asked her about her book, blah blah, did all these things. And when she's getting about ready to leave, and Matt walks back and I was like, is she single? And he goes, I don't know. He's like, you should ask. I was like, you should ask. He's like, I can't ask that. I was like, you're right.
That's married.
Yeah, I know. And I was like, all right, well, whatever. I was like, is she about to leave? She's like, yes. I was like, okay. I wrote my name and number down. I walked up, and I was like, all right. And first off, Alex, if you're listening to this, I'm sorry for doing this without asking you, and I'm not going to do that again unless I ask you first. Thank you. I'm sorry to disrespect you. Moving on. Okay. I walk up to the bar with my number in between my fingers. I just fold it up. I walk up. I'm like, hey, I got a question to ask you. I was like, are you single? And she goes, well, yeah. And I was like, well, I'd like for you to have my number if you want it. And she's like, yeah, I really do. And then we ended up exchanging names and blah blah. She has my number, but it was like, yeah. I was like, hell yeah. And then
that's the old-fashioned way of doing it. That's the way it's supposed to be.
Yes.
All this internet crap, that's the real way of doing it.
Yes, I agree. And it was like one of those moments I was like, all right, cool, I stepped up, I did it. But Alex runs to the back, she goes, Nick, don't you ever do that again. I was like, it was like a moment of like, yes.
conquered it, man. Awesome.
I did, but yes, and I'm sorry, Alex. Again, I love you, and you're great. And maybe she might be my future wife. You never know.
She could be.
Exactly.
You know, crazier
But,
things happen.
okay, so on the lines of that, what is one of that was like an unforgettable moment. I'm guessing when you're living life in the moment, like you do, like I do, so much so that it's not just positive. We're not positive people. We're just positive because we're in this moment. We're living. What is one of the most unforgettable moments in your life? That's a pretty deep question, boy. Something you won't forget.
No, let me tell you this. When
All
you
right.
were describing this moment you had last night, it was in my mind, it was a parallel to a moment that was the most important moment in my life is when I met Suzanne. And I want to tell you it's a long story, so I'll condense it into the Reader's Digest version.
Good. You got it.
All right. So 1990, okay, before you're born, in 1990, I had went through a divorce from my first wife. I married her. Her name was Joanna, right out of high school. I was in love, and it was perfect at the moment, but it didn't turn out to be the perfect long-term relationship. So we separated and went through a divorce, and I'm out at this place. Like you're in a bar, you were in the bar at home restaurant when you met this girl.
Yeah.
So I'm at a bar in Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm 27 years old now.
Okay.
And my friends and I are, trying to get me out to meet people. So we go to this place called the Long Branch. Okay, the Long Branch is kind of like Gillies in Texas, giant multi-area bar and club with country music on one side and top 40 on the other, and swarms of people. And
I know exactly what you're thinking.
it was killer. It was
yeah,
killer.
it was awesome.
So I go with my buds to go to this place. I don't have a membership, so we're having to, find somebody to get us in. But we're outside waiting for the right person to get us in. So we finally get in the front door, and three of us. And I'm again 27. And so I look in the entry foyer of this place, and there's this lady. She's wearing a blue dress with a pair of blue Agner pumps, and her hair is halfway down her back. It's red, and I just looked at this woman and was like, man, she's beautiful. She's just beautiful. And I thought, that's the kind of woman I would just love to meet. Well, I turned to my buddy Tim and I said, I'm going to dance with that girl tonight. He looked at me and says, there ain't a chance in hell she's going to dance with you. There's no way. At the time I had hair halfway down my back in a ponytail. I used to work with bands and stuff. So I've done a little bit of everything. But she's like, that woman, that classy woman right there will not even speak to you. And I thought, wow, thanks for the vote of confidence.
That's the kick I needed.
Well, we got in, and the place again is 1,000+ people in this joint. It's huge. So we get up to the pool tables and we start drinking a few drinks. And next thing you know, I told him, I said, look, I got to find this lady. I just got to find her. So I just swarmed into the crowd and ultimately located her and asked her to dance, and she said yes. And we started talking that night. Didn't see her again for 2 or 3 months. She wouldn't give me her number. We just was friendly. Saw her again a few months later, and we danced again. And it was very, very, very sporadic, but something finally clicked in the middle part of 1990 when we met for the third time, I believe it was. And it's a lot more to the story. I'm leaving a lot out, but that's the outer band of it all. So probably that moment for me was that moment walking into that front door and seeing her and realizing that that's the one I wanted to be with the rest of my life. And now 30 years later, we're still together.
That's awesome. That's a great story. It's that's straight movie scene. It's like you walk in, like I picture it. You walked into the room, you saw Suzanne looking fantastically beautiful in her blue dress, everything like that, and just be like, that's. And it would be called the first dance, like the 3 dances, whatever. Like you ended up going out there and getting the dance with the beautiful.
It was pretty cool stuff, man, and it was intuition, of course.
Yeah.
So I felt it, after having that first marriage that really was not. I was only married to this girl, the first one, for a couple of years. So it was early on, right out of high school kind of stuff. But no, the second one's a charm. Trust me, it was a win.
And I know she's definitely a win. She's fantastic, and that's so cool. It's just like I find it so interesting because like I've been hit with those vibes before, not perfect, I guess you can say, through past relationships, but even like my friends, and it's so interesting to see like where those moments of like, wow, like that's I need to be around that person, or wow, I need this person in my life, or wow, I need to go dance with her, where that leads you to, just because of the boldness of you understanding that moment. Like, I'm not going to get this moment back if I don't do this.
That's right.
And like I've done some crazy things in my day. Like at the age of 18, I moved by myself to Florida and lived there for a year. I mean, I've often made decisions like this and moved my life. And like, it's sometimes in those decisions or those big things in the moment where you have to go dance with a girl that end up leading you to the best places in your life.
That's right.
And like, I mean, or crash courses in understanding, I guess you can say too. It's
That's
like
true.
you're just thrown into the environment, and then the environment's like, hey, this is where you're supposed to be. Awesome. And just moves on.
Got to have an open mind too, and many people don't. You've got to be able to accept those things when they're cast to you,
Yeah.
or they're presented to you. Think of all the times though, and I know this has probably happened to me a million times or more, but there's things that has happened along the way, whether it be, work related or personal, whatever it might be, that may have become something just spectacular, but you weren't able to harness that power at that moment, so you lost it and you move on. But I have to say in that regard that I've been fortunate enough in my 57 years on this planet to have harnessed quite a bit of those opportunities.
Yeah.
So whether it be work or not, I mean, I have not always been a regional director. I mean, there was a life prior to that, and I think all of that prepared me for this. I will tell you this, and I say this. I used to let this kind of conversation I'm fixing to tell you bother me, but it don't anymore. You're talking to a man that did not go to college.
Yeah.
Okay?
Well, that's awesome.
I didn't go.
That's awesome. And I think that the stigma behind college at all, like for me, the only thing I used college for was I'm better at presenting. The connections I made are like amazing, and I'll never forget them because they can still teach me amazing things. But I'm $26,000 in debt because of it. It's not like I'm not going to be able to pay that off. Don't get me wrong. I'll get it done. But at the end of the day, I think that there's so much to be learned when you're just thrown into an environment or have the willingness to achieve, rather than to just go out. And because I mean, in the past, even like 50, 60, 70 years ago, you went to college, you got a job. That's it. As me right now, like I went to school for public relations and a minor in event planning. I don't want to be an event planner, but I want to know how to event plan because it's important. And that's too much stress. Not my thing. I'm actually building an event planning business. It's complicated, but as well as like, I'm not going to go super into PR, but I like how branding works and understanding. These things are great tools to allow me to do what I'm doing. But like, again, it was a great way for me to develop more as a human being before I got out into the world. And like, I think that, so like to have succeeded as far as you have without a college degree is awesome. And like, I mean, I understand where at some points, like it could be like, I want to get my master's, my doctorate, things like that. Like even not getting that, I could be like, dang, I wanted to go do that. Or like, dang, that held me back. But at the end of the day, it's what you make in the moment and how you move forward.
I don't think it's an issue. Personally, I mean, I interview a lot of people that went to college. I hire a lot of people that went to college.
Yeah.
I chose not to. My family's business at the time, back when I was right out of high school, my stepfather and my mother owned a company, and that was in North Carolina, and they pulled me into the family business, and that was where I'm supposed to be right now, but it didn't happen that way because my stepfather died. My mother had to sell the business. I had to sign a no-compete clause, and it put me out of business. So that's why I got into financial services. And now I've got my credentialing. I've gone to the American College, the online courses and all the stuff.
Yeah.
I'm securities licensed. I mean, I do all that crap. I've done all I had to do, but I didn't do a Formal 4. I think if I had gone to college, to be honest with you, for me, when I was in high school, the number one thing I wanted in high school was to skip, and I was really good at it. Hang out with girls, which I was really good at that, and play. That was all I really wanted to do in those days.
Yeah.
But if I had gone to college, I probably would have done all of what I just said in a bigger setting.
Yeah.
I could have graduated quickly. I could have easily got a degree, and because I'm I've had to do a lot of that kind of stuff with some of the securities related stuff I'm doing now, but I just didn't do it, man. I think I might have missed it. But at the same time, you talk about moments and taking advantage of the moment and getting what you want. My stuff lined up perfectly either way. So
that's what matters. I think Jim Carrey. I really like commencement speeches. Like good commencement speeches are some of my favorite things of all time. Jim Carrey had one in 2014, and I talk about this a lot on this podcast. He's talking about people basically, like at the end of the day, like you can't force things to happen. You can't, like, as much as you want something to happen, it's not your job to do that. Just like, it's honestly really interesting to talk about the habits. The habits we make end up making us, basically end up making our lives what they are. And that's true. And he says this is like, it's not your job to open the doors in your own life, because it's not your job to open the doors in your own life. Your job is to only open the door in your mind. And when the door opens in real life, we'll walk right through. And that's
awesome.
it's great as long as you're working on something and you're going to accomplish it because you're putting time and effort into it and you're not going to stop, and you're like, all right, just let it happen. that's when the mojo, that's when the magic, that's when everything starts to flow into place. And that's what people don't realize is that they try to head straight on, like throw their head into the wall and be like, haha, I'm gonna be this. When again, at the end of the day, like, it takes time, it takes effort, it takes qualifications, learning, understanding, failure, and continue to move on. And I think failure is a huge part of today's society. It's just like people look at it in such a negative way, when at the end of the day is that it's necessary, especially like the more I'm learning, especially through, like, I've had the doors for almost 2 years now, which is wild to think about. But as I'm being continuous, as well as I'm trying to stay consistent. And by doing that, every time I fail, if I tweak it or try to fix it or try to work better, as I can see the differences because I'm consistent. I can see the differences because I have a time frame of reference. And people don't. I had a buddy the other day talk to me about how he was kind of jealous of, like, anyone starting something like this, what I'm doing, or even someone getting to your level of anything. But what people don't realize is all the fog, the fluff, the mountains we've had to crawl to get to this point.
Oh yeah.
It's just like, it's wild to think about that.
You learn from your failure. It's not a failure as long as you learn something from it. So if it's failure on the surface, it's still a win afterwards, as long as you learn from it. That's the key. I mean, I tell you what, dude, in the 30 years been doing what I do, I have failed a lot. And every time I've come out stronger. Every time. Now, sometimes you don't see it right away. Hindsight obviously is 20/20. But I have, every time I've failed, I've gotten better. If I've had a bad year or a bad month, it's almost always preceded after that with a fantastic. It's okay. This business and in life in general is called cyclical. Okay, it's like a pendulum. It swings. Cyclical. It's up and down. Stock market's the same way. You just got to know that that in life, everything is cyclical. It's never the same. And if you try to make it the same, it's going to be one boring ass place to be.
Man, I had you're not wrong. I completely understand that. I had two realizations recently, and one was that, like, I was like, I'm trying to give myself more leeway as a young person, because, like, I put so much pressure on my goals and the things that I want to achieve. Like, and like that gives me anxiety as I can continue to move forward. If I'm like, oh, I gotta get there. But as someone, I realized it was like, dang, I was like, number one, you gotta give yourself some leeway. Number two, like, you can't always be that person you want to be. As much as you want to strive for that, to be that individual, you can't be that person 100% of the time. You just not possible.
Right.
Again, it'd be boring if you were that person. Mm-hmm. But what you can't realize is you can always strive to be that, or try to be that towards that. And like, I had this moment, because it was probably a couple months back, and I was just somewhere in this journal. I've been writing all my stuff down, which is awesome, because I have all of this is in there, and I love that because I can go back and see it. But I was sitting there and I was like, I had a really great phase. I was waking up early. I was getting things accomplished. I was working out. I was doing all this. And I was like, gosh, this is awesome. I'm like, this is great. And then I went through like probably another 2-3 weeks of like, I'd wake up at 11, like barely eat food before I went to work. And I'm like, well, what is happening? And I get home, I come home from work, I play video games for 3-4 hours, and then I go to sleep and do the same thing for 3 weeks. And it's like, what I realize is just like you said, it's cyclical. And like, don't get me wrong, and some of those moments aren't always the perfect or the best, or sometimes they're not always what you want. But at the end of the day, like, it's as long as you can realize that and like, okay, cool, I need to make moves to move this way a little bit, or be like, okay, this is just a time period, move on, we'll get to where we need to be. It's patience is a virtue, and it's I think it's one of the most important virtues, because we live such fast-paced lives.
Oh yeah.
Like, everything takes time. Everything.
Yep. You got to have those losses to even appreciate the wins, because if you didn't have losses, you wouldn't even know what a win was. If you don't have those bad days, you wouldn't know what a good day is, because it'll all be the same.
Yeah.
So it is the cyclical, it's the pendulum that swings. The one of the things I talk about, since you're on that subject, I'll just pop this out there.
Go ahead.
So when I hire an individual and they come on board with us and we go through the training and they're in their first year, and it's always the toughest, we try to explain to them the importance of the pendulum, okay? Because here's the thing, in life, like in our work, but in life, this is the parallel. When the pendulum is up, okay, and things are going really, really well, it's easy to be, when it's up, it's just easy. The hard part is not when it's up. The hard part is when it's here, because you got to get it back up. And so, the low parts are what people don't understand. You don't want to be there a long time. You want to fight to keep it. You don't want it to stick there. You want it to stay up here. But the hard part that people don't understand is that, they think when you're up here, everything's easy. It's the hardest when it's up here, because you should be fighting in life to stay there. It's important that when that pendulum swings, it doesn't just stop right here. So we do preach that to our team, to when things are going well, that's when you fight to keep it that way. Don't start fighting when it's here. You're going to have to do that then, but don't start then. You need to start when it's here. And so, when they start going out and they're prospecting and they're building their client list and they're trying to develop their practice, it's important that they understand that when things are good, that's when you fight to keep it that way, not after the fact.
Well, I mean, as I continue to grow and learn I've had really great leaders throughout my days, whether it be my gymnastics coaches, my cheerleading coaches, my teachers, or I've had a lot of really great teachers in my life. And one of the biggest things that they've taught me is be proactive instead of being reactive. If you can understand at least how the system is working in a very small sense, you're doing better than a lot of other people. If you're working proactively to fight, to push out goals, push out problems and things like that, you're going to be better off than someone that has to react because of just reaction time alone. And that's important. I mean, you have to go ahead.
You're one of the youngest people I've heard say that in a long time. Proactivity versus reactivity. I don't hear that from anybody in their 20s very much. That's amazing.
I appreciate that. But I think that I'm out here because I constantly think about these things. This is what I do. And I'm excited to eventually do this for a living. And it's beautiful in a sense that I get to think about these things all the time and how I'm going to develop my future. And I think that, again, just like Earl Nightingale says, is that our rewards in life will always be in exact proportion to our contributions. Right now, as a 24-year-old trying to build his life around what I do, I'm taking steps slowly there, but I understand that, again, I'm just going to try to keep pushing forward. And I know a lot of people, I have some friends that think like this, but I know the majority of people my age or even older don't get this. And I think that's just society putting pressure on people and trying to, the way that people are brought up and taught. And the DOORS stands for the Developers of Our Own Opportunities Reinventing Success. And that's what I'm trying to do around here. I see you doing it with your employees, your staff as well. As you reinvent that idea, it's this is how it really works. Like
Right.
we think this is how. Do you think this is how success works? You think this is how we continue to push forward? But no, we have to work this way so that it's easier. We're working smarter. We're not going to work harder. We're not going to sit here and wait for something to happen.
Right.
We're going to think beforehand, move forward, because that way we can continue to make strides and succeed.
Correct.
Exactly. Okay. We're getting pretty close to the end, so I'm going to ask you this one question that we can end with. It's good. Is if you could tell the world something, if you could tell the world one thing, just to keep on their mind, what would that one thing be?
If I could tell the world something to keep on their mind, what would it be?
Yeah.
That's a very, very, very good question.
It's a tough question.
Goodness gracious. I mean, I have different things that pop in my mind. All right, I'm gonna say a couple of things. One,
It's fine. Go ahead. Yeah.
One, think for yourself. Put aside the internet. Put aside social media. Put aside negative influences, and make your own decisions. Don't let the Democrats or Republicans or the Trumpers or the never Trumpers or whoever is out there on this planet make your own decisions based on your own heart, and don't let other people influence it in that regard. And stand by your decisions when you make them. I'm gonna say this. There was a guy named Edwin Markham. Okay.
Okay.
In 1951, he said, "There is a destiny that makes us brothers. None goes his way alone. All that we send into the lives of others come back into our own." That is our company's motto. That is what we believe. It's to do with paternalism. It's for giving back. I'm going to say it again. There is a destiny that makes us brothers. None goes his way alone. All that we send into the lives of others comes back into our own. I live that. Okay. I live that. It's in my head. It stays there. I think it. I give back. I will employ your listeners and your viewers this simple thing. Think about what I just said. Practice that in your life, and you will reap rewards that you never thought you would have had.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like to take away something from that is that sometimes, y'all, the most important things in life are something that aren't tangible. And exactly what he's talking about is when you give out your time, your effort, and who you are as a person to someone else for not your benefit, but for the benefit of them, you get so much more rewards back. But man, this is a great talk. I really enjoyed this, man. Well, listen, we'll have to stay in touch. I mean, of course we'll stay in touch, but we'll definitely do these. I'd love to do another one with you sometime. Man, this was a lot of fun.
I'm at your disposal. You just say the word, I'll make it happen.
Yes, sir. Well, man. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in today. This is Behind the Doors with Greg Peace. Say goodbye, man.
Peace out.
Peace out.